Hello and welcome to Leaps and Hounds with me, Charlotte Hawkins. This is episode 5, Odd Phobias, Bella and her bugbear. I'm here at the Dogs Trust Rehoming Centre in West London. Now, they do a brilliant job here looking after dogs. I've been a big supporter of theirs for many years, and they're seeing a record number of dogs being given up at the moment. And a big reason is because of unwanted behaviours. So whether it's barking, whether it's jumping up, whether it's poor recall, or, as we're going to talk about today, odd phobias. We are here to help because we've got bite-sized section of information for you that will give you all the advice you need. Expert Kris Glover is here on hand to talk us through everything. She's Head of Clinical Behaviour Services at the Dogs Trust. She is fluent in all things dog. And today I'm going to introduce you to Bella the Husky and her handler, Roy. Now, Bella has a particular bugbear. She has a phobia of something rather strange, doesn't she, Roy?
Absolutely, yes. So she actually has what we call a phobia of wheelie bins.
Right.
It has a lot to do with kind of how she's come to us and what she's been exposed to out in the environment. And
so she's not used to seeing them, is she? So what does she do when she sees them?
Her body language just changes really and becomes a slightly more worried. So she's kind of like standing back, kind of avoiding that object and wanting to get around it and lower her body. So on site, we've been kind of opening her world up a little bit to kind of work her through her worries with wheelie bins in particular, but just kind of building on her general socialisation with us and handlers and going to new places and different places.
She is so beautiful. I'm sure it's not going to be very long before she's back out in a home, is it?
Absolutely not. Unfortunately, she came to us due to her owner's ill health, which is not massively uncommon, but it's better that she comes to us in our care because we can absolutely find her a suitable home and work through those behaviours we're seeing.
And Roy, you know about dogs and their odd phobias, don't you? Because you've come across a fair few.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whether they're full phobias or slight kind of worries there, but absolutely my own dog, unfortunately during COVID when everything was kind of shut down, one of my dogs grew up on a farm with me and outside of the home, absolutely more confident with all the farm life, livestock going around and environmental. But back in the home, you would see some slight worries around random items such as cheese, a cheese chunk that fell on.
A phobia of cheese.
Where normally you'd see a dog absolutely love and dive onto cheese. Being in the kitchen, I was actually chopping up some cheese as high value for some training that I was doing with my young pup. And this chunk of soft cheese splattered to the floor, and it was very peculiar to my boxer dog, my young boxer dog, and her body language was almost playful, but also there was a sense of worry there where she was backing up and making some grunty noises, and it was semi-play, but there was definitely some hesitation around this unknown item.
So that's really interesting though. So you could pick up from her and her body language what was going on, and it happened another time, didn't it? When you suddenly realised because of your dog's reaction, it was something that you didn't even know was there.
Yeah, I mean, body language is absolutely key when you're training a dog and just understanding behaviour, and I think everybody can learn about dog body language. A couple of years later, and I adopted a second dog from Dogs Trust, a beagle, and I was walking outside of my home, and very, very quickly, my dogs kind of went into a panic. And that's Bella singing there for you, just placing treats down for her. Yes, very quickly they became panicked and ears were back and they were bolting, trying to reverse into the home. And it was very unusual for both of my dogs to respond that way. It wasn't till later that once I put my dogs back in the home to kind of figure out what on earth has gone on, that I realised that my neighbours had installed a cat deterrent, which creates a really high pitched
So your dogs
tone.
could hear it, but you couldn't?
I couldn't, no, but it wasn't until I looked over to because the house is quite small, to the neighbours, that slightly over the gravel divider there was this white line that then turned out to be the shape of a cat deterrent.
Oh, that's really interesting, isn't it? Well, listen, thank you so much. I'll let you get on because I can see Bella's going to start singing to us again.
Absolutely.
She's obviously keen to go and explore elsewhere, but thank you very much.
No worries, thank you.
For that. And Kris, I think that's kind of a key thing, isn't it? That they might seem like odd phobias to us, but it's understanding from the dog's perspective where all this is coming from, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think this is where we really need to think, consider dog as well. So just because we can't see or hear anything, so in the scenario that Roy was just describing then, he wouldn't have been able to hear the cat deterrent device, but his dogs absolutely could, and he knew that that was something a little bit unusual. So we may perceive a shopping bag, plastic bag blowing in the wind as being something that isn't particularly scary, because we know it's a shopping bag that's blowing in the wind, but our dogs may not. So we do have to be mindful of this and really do think and consider dogs when we're considering things as being, I can't see it, I can't hear it, I don't know why you're stressing or why you're anxious about this particular situation. I had it many years ago when I was walking across beautiful beach, and there was a cyclist that was coming towards us. It was a very windy day, had quite a big high-vis jacket on. And to me, it was just a big jacket that was blowing in the wind, looked a little bit balloon-shaped. But both my dogs that were off lead at the time got really, really quite anxious and started backing away and running away from the person on the bike. And again, from a dog's perspective, they were very used to cyclists. They were very used to people wearing high-vis jackets. What they weren't was used to people that looked a little bit balloon-like on a bike. So I have to consider that. We're probably slightly better at being able to depict things that might be worrying to our dogs when we can see them, but we've also got to be very mindful of things that they can hear. So smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, anything that might have been high-pitched that could have gone off when we were outside of the home. Dogs may have heard that. That might cause them to become upset about things. Might be the fact that by the time we've got home, that smoke detector or that carbon monoxide detector, the sound's actually gone off. But anything that we might not even be able to hear. So there are going to be things that are outside of our pitch range that our dogs hear. And again, we need to be able to trust our dogs that they are worried about something, and it's really important that we find out what that something is in order to help them get through it.
So how common would you say that phobias are for dogs? Is it usual then that a lot of dogs are going to have a bugbear about something or another?
I think it's more common than we would suspect, and I think it's because it's disregarded a lot. So possibly a lot of people would just say, oh, the dog's just behaving strangely today, or that's a little bit out of character, without sometimes taking the time and effort to actually find out what's going on, and especially if it's one of those behaviours that only happens occasionally. So if we think about our wheelie bin situation, that's likely to only happen once a week when we put the wheelie bins out. So it could be that it becomes it only happens on a Tuesday. So actually it's not a regular occurrence enough for us to be able to actually ascertain there is a behaviour problem, and we do need to sort of help us with our dogs to work through it.
And what are the most common things that dogs have phobias about? I mean, wheelie bins, we've had cheese, we've had all sorts, haven't we?
Absolutely.
What are the ones that are the most common to look out for?
I would say it's anything that's movement. So signs that are moving, that are rocking a little bit in the wind, traffic cones, anything that is a little bit out of place. Possibly is an object that may be slightly bigger. So it's the tiny objects, the tiny pieces of cheese may not be quite so common for dogs to be worried about. It tends to be the slightly bigger objects. You can get people that have concrete little cats that they put outside the front of the houses. Anything, I think that up in London, I've seen trees that have been shaped into dogs, and that can cause dogs to become a little bit freaked because it looks like a dog, but it doesn't smell like a dog and doesn't act like a dog. So as I say, we just need to understand that just because we consider it's a tree, it's cut in the shape of the dog, we don't need to worry about it. We have to be aware that our dogs are worried about it, and we need to help them to support them through that.
Right, and what's the best technique to do that then? Because is it to sort of think, okay, I need to protect them from it and not go near it? Or are you thinking, right, okay, I'm going to have to take them past the wheelie bin every day until they're used to it?
Absolutely. So I think if it's quite a severe behaviour, if we can avoid it, let's do so. If it's something that we can't avoid, absolutely ask for help from a qualified behaviourist. I think that's really, really key, because we want to develop our dog's confidence around these objects, rather than getting to a point where, because we are repeatedly taking our dogs out for a walk and coming across things that they are frightened of, that we get to a point where they don't want to leave the home.
No, and it's really important. We need them to be out and about and enjoying themselves,
Absolutely.
don't we? Kris, thank you so much.
you.
Brilliant advice there. So the key thing there to remember is consider the phobias from your dog's perspective, not just yours. If you can avoid those situations, then do. But if not, then you may need to seek help from a qualified behaviourist to help you through that one. Thank you so much for joining us. The next episode is going to be Paw Recall, and it's going to be with Nova the Rover coming up next time. We'll see you then. Join us for that.
For more help with your dog, go to Dogs Trust website. There's an advice page and a behaviour support line. And on the rehoming page, there are some of the 700 dogs looking for their forever homes. You can also find out more about Bella, the dog who featured in this episode. If you like what you've heard so far, please share with a friend and leave a review. Leaps and Hounds is hosted by me, Charlotte Hawkins, the producer is Georgie Nell, and our technical director is Milton Boyne. It's recorded at Dogs Trust, West London for Nell Media.